Lord, thank you for bringing us here this evening. Thank you for giving us this wonderful community to help lead. Thank you for giving us the honor to help be up front here, to help lead the community. Help us to listen, help us to learn, help us to know what your will be to going forward to help this community. Give us the courage, the determination, and the compassion to lead the city into the future. In God's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Laura, will you please call the roll?
Peters.
Here.
Holt.
Here.
Serta.
Here.
Revolt.
Excuse me.
Kiesling. Here. Waring. Here. Fonte.
Here.
Seven present.
All right, thank you very much. Before we get into consideration here, need a motion to amend Special council meeting minutes, May 23rd, 2019, page 7, line 13. Speaking, it should be Mrs. Warren.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Okay, thank you. For your consideration, the motion is second to approve as presented special committee of the whole meeting minutes, May 13th, 2019. Council meeting minutes, May 13th, 2019. Committee of the whole meeting minutes, May 20th, 2019. Special council meeting minutes, May 20th, 2019. Special council meeting minutes, May 21st, 2019. And special council meeting minutes as amended, May 23rd, 2019. And finally, financial report, April 2019.
Motion to consider as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay?
Berman abstain.
Abstain. Fontaine abstain.
Oops.
Okay, at this time, if you wish to address council, please step forward, state your name and address for the record. Just a reminder, there's a 5-minute time limit, and if you have questions for council, they'll be addressed at the end of the meeting during our council reports. John?
Chuck Osborne, 307 Fairview Street, southeast Canton, Ohio. I often wonder if anybody really realizes why are we even having these meetings? Why do we have the processes we have? Why there's a paper trail for these processes? You 7 are our elected representatives. But I don't see much representation of the public going on at all. Here's my experience with city government here in the last week. Had a recent zoning board of appeals meeting, which Mrs. Keesling and Mrs. Warren have pushed through legislation and a change in the charter that they don't want to attend. This last meeting of the ZBA was very interesting. And first I'll get to the push for one of your resolutions tonight, changing the name of the meetings to adjudication. I dare say all of you have been to college up here, right? Mr. Fonte says no. But the ones of you who have, did you know you matriculated? Does anybody know what matriculation means? You enrolled in college. But how often do we say that? Hey, I'm going to go matriculate next week. Or your kids told you, or you pushed your kids, you need to matriculate soon so you get the classes you want, or whatever. That means enrolling in college. Simple as that. Adjudication. Yes. Nobody has argued that we are not adjudicating property rights at a zoning board of appeals meeting. Nobody's ever denied that. But how often do we utilize that terminology? Does anybody even know what it means? There is absolutely no reason to change this from public hearing to adjudication. None. There was never any denial that we're adjudication property rights. It has stood for 60 years in this city. It's intimidating to the public, and then to tell them we're going to cross-examine you. Now, I was cross-examined by Law Director Fox this last week, Wednesday. He felt that his duty as the legal representative to cross-examine me, and his main point was to ask me where I live, to point out that, hey, you have no dog in the fight, because this was an issue over on Penny. Nobody's denying I lived in the proximity and I was going to be immediately impacted. But every citizen has an interest in seeing our laws that are carried out. Otherwise, why even have a hearing? Just invite the party who wants the variance and the parties who are immediately impacted and exclude everybody else. So there's no reason to change this at all. It has worked for years. People are not going to come up here and lie on the record and have it preserved for 150 years in the records. We have planning commission members who are sensible enough, appointed by our mayor. They can judge the testimony as presented to them, whether they think it's beneficial, impactful, or has no bearing on the situation. So there's no reason for this. You're just creating power authority for Mr. Fox. He's placing himself as the jury, and he's leading these commission members. Lastly, before my time runs out, I've made a record request, and it's repeatedly denied. I copied everybody here at City Hall because I'm tired of playing games, what I call whack-a-mole. I asked the wrong person for the record because they can conceivably say, I don't have it. When they know, in fact, they did have it, or they could have it, but they've handed it off to somebody else. So I've asked you 7 and made you aware. I'm hoping you can help me with these records requests. Otherwise, you leave me no choice than to go through the claims process in Columbus and then with an attorney. I've already talked to an attorney. There's no basis.
Your time is up. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to address council, please step forward, state your, yes, sir.
Stephen Puste, 3593 Dovershire, Canton, Ohio.
Wait, can you start over again, please?
Stephen Puste, P-U-S-T-A-Y, 3593 Dovershire, Northwest, Massillon, Ohio.
Thank you.
I have some materials I'd like to leave for council's consideration if I can.
Yeah.
My name is Stephen Puste, and I'm here representing Terry Marshall, a North Canton resident and board member of the Hall of Fame City Pickleball Club, who was hospitalized yesterday and is unable to attend this evening. I'm here representing as well the members of the Hall of Fame City Pickleball Club and its 154 members, the Northeast Ohio Pickleball Club and its nearly 200 members, the First Friends Pickleball Nail Serve list with over 325 members, and as the United States Pickleball Association, the ambassador for Massillon, Jackson, Ohio, more than 3 million active pickleball players across the country. I'm here first and foremost to thank you for your generous support of the fastest growing sport in the United States and your installation of the new pickleball courts on Gladwood Avenue in North Canton. As an ambassador of USAPA, one of my primary roles is to provide support for communities in installation, maintenance, funding, and design of court facilities. And I offer not as a criticism, but as an example of our services, a few brief examples and excerpts from the Pickleball Courts Construction Manual that is funded by the American Sports Builders Association on behalf of USAPA. Given the existing footprint of the court surface at Glenwood Avenue, using USAPA recommended championship court overruns, which are larger than normal, the document I provided will show you that you could have easily placed 6 courts where you had 4. If you had installed the smaller provisional court structure, as also recommended by the USPA, without any additional cost, you could have installed 8 courts at that location. And we say that this is a reference to let you know that by contacting USAPA and making those arrangements, we can help advise in that way. We believe that for costs of less than $5,000, the existing fencing could have been kept and the courts could have been completed. However, I'm also pleased to tell you that your courts are in full use. For the first time tomorrow, we're going to be running a pickleball clinic. We will have 16 members of your community attending an HOFPC stroke clinic. We've also contracted for the first of what we anticipate will be an annual pickleball tournament called the Firecracker Tournament to coincide with your July 4th run. And we have 16 mixed doubles teams already signed up, and we expect that tournament will grow within the next 3 weeks before registration closes. Your courts are already in use by on a regular basis on Wednesdays with the league that is playing there, and we anticipate those numbers will grow as well. The USAPA is also mindful of making communities aware of modest but growing potential for court use fees. For example, last week the Benjamin F. Edwards tournament held in the courts in Mentor, Ohio, garnered the city a $1,000 use fee. Tournament directors there told me that the city receives nearly $4,000 in annual use fees for tournaments, shootouts, and leagues. Canton City Stadium courts are currently drawing 20% of tournament entry fees from all HOFC events held there. And Joe Harrell, the tournament director for our club, believes that by the end of the summer, more than $500 will be returned to the city in usage fees. Additionally, larger tournaments like the Mentor Tournament, which draws participants from 5 states and Canada as well, brings thousands of extra dollars of revenue to local hotels and restaurants and other vendors in the area. Finally, I would be remiss if I did not call to your attention some issues in the surface installation on the Glenwood courts, which we have previously addressed with some city officials. There are not an insignificant number of surface bubbles which prevent a clean and accurate bounce of the ball. I've played dozens of matches on all 4 of your courts. We've found all 4 courts have some serious dead spots which make recreational play and tournament play difficult and problematic. I believe that the outstanding location, design of the Glenwood courts will allow for seeds of future tournaments that can draw from across the state, and urge you to consider efforts to correct the issues with the surface of the court so that your city, your taxpayers, and your pickleball community will be proud of the installation there. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Good evening. I'm Vince Lehman of 1494 Swider Road in New Franklin, Ohio. I'm here from Johnson Controls, and just wanted to take a couple of minutes to reference or clarify some things for ordinance both 28 and 29. I know that, over the course of the last couple of council meetings, there have been some questions with respect to, or maybe some confusion, additional information needed with respect to the process of how we would go through and implement a project as described in both of those ordinances and the study associated with that. To that end, I want to just kind of give some clarification to that. As we go through and put a project like this together, the way that we normally start out is we go through and do a complete feasibility study to look at all the different alternatives and the different options that the city would have in order to move through, in this case, the implementation of a sludge press over the water treatment plant. And in doing that, it kind of draws out a little bit of the time associated with putting a project like that together. In the case of the city of North Canton here, we have a little bit of an advantage. And that advantage is that Mark and Robert and some other people have been pretty diligent, actually, which is nice for us. It's not something we see all the time, in going through and investigating different options that are out there. And you kind of have an idea of where you want to go with a plate-style sludge press with that. Now that's great, and that may be the way that makes most sense for you to do, but what we would be doing as we move forward into this is doing a feasibility study, although it would be a somewhat truncated one, to provide you information with respect to life cycle costing and the overall pros and cons of the various technologies that are out there in order to determine the best way for you to go and allow you to make a more informed decision. Once that is done, the next step in the process is that we actually go through and start putting the design together. As we put the design together, we work with our engineering teams, along with, in conjunction with multiple contractors, to put together the concept and the pricing once you have an idea of where you want to go. And we would help you in making that idea of where you want to go. That's what the feasibility study would be for. During that process, we put together sets of drawings and schematics and what have you that come into play for things like, for example, low-interest loans offered by DPW that are really coming to play in October. So you want to have an application set up in September for those. We would have a package together and work with you to help procure that and move forward to get that in play as you move forward with this project. The other thing that we look at are any additional grants and things that are out there as well to help from a funding aspect of this, to give you options with that. So it can give you, a whole, array of not only the possible solutions and the life cycle costing with that, but also the opportunities for ways to fund that side of this. Now, we work with this in a partnership with you in order to make sure that you can make the decision that you're most comfortable with, that best fits the needs of the city and of the constituents that you have throughout the city, to make sure it's an effective and efficient process. As we do that, we get multiple pricing then from the contractors. We go through and implement it from the standpoint of providing project management, construction management, as well as dealing with helping you move forward with the EPA permitting requirements, because you're going to have to get a re-permit on the plan in order to operate it, because this is a change of process for you. So we would help you and assist you in putting all that together as you move forward as well. Once that's done and implementation is complete, our teams make sure that in fact it's done correctly, that it meets the intent that you have as you move forward, and it's done at no change orders or no cost increases. That's one of the things, one of the reasons, quite frankly, that I do what I do right now. Because as you come to us, you're coming to us as experts. You should treat us as experts. You should expect that we give you the best opportunities, and that as we go through and indicate to you what the costs are to implement this, that there's no cost overruns or change orders associated with that. Upon completion of the project, we then go through and work with your staff to help from a training perspective, because once this is put together, whichever system you decide to use, once the system is put together, there is ongoing maintenance. It's a mechanical system. That's going to happen. And there's operating constraints and requirements that you have to do in order to comply with and meet with the EPA guidelines for your operating permits. So we help you put all of that together as well. In essence, what we're doing is providing you with a turnkey type of implementation to allow you to go through and get not only the most efficient, the best long-term operating process as you move forward into this, the best funding mechanisms that you can work with, and prepare you to operate it not only today, but well into the future, to make sure that this is a good decision not only today, but a good decision well down the road. And that's why we would like to be your partner with that. If you have any other questions, please feel free to just give us a call. Let us know you do have our cards. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to address council there? You're up.
Larry Trick, 1127 East Maple, North Canton. Much to the ire of one councilman, the repository a couple months ago published my letter to the editor titled "Appointment of Council Clerk in North Canton Hints at Inside Manipulation." Rest assured, at the appropriate time during this election year, other letters are in the works expressing my opinion. One good title might be, "Does hypocrisy run rampant in North Canton government?" Another letter might be titled, "Does North Canton government use bullying and intimidation in their government practice?" The last leads me to my recollection 3 years ago, June 2016, I, along with Mr. Rod Cubby, remember him, was approached by our law director in a very unprofessional manner following a meeting at Dogwood Park. A physical confrontation could have easily played out after I challenged him as to why he was trying to bully and intimidate us. Only when I threatened to call the police did he scurry away like a scared weasel. I personally made a terrible mistake by not calling the police. But my rationale at that time was that it would have been an embarrassment to the city. Like I said, a terrible mistake on my part, after subsequently watching two individuals, alias Mutton Jeff from a comic strip of the years gone by, continue to make a mockery of sound government practice in North Canton. Then I only furthered my mistake by conveying this problem to the mayor, who stated he would discuss this with the individual in question. Mr. Mayor, based on his conduct up until a couple months ago, when, as I understand, he was counseled on his job performance, I can't believe you backed up your words to me. I'm a senior citizen, a United States Army veteran, and damn proud of it. 2 weeks ago, this country honored with many somber ceremonies those deceased who served our country with pride, dignity, dedication, and bravery. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for your kind words as I listened to your remarks on Memorial Day. But Mr. Mayor, as I reflect back on North Canton government, hostile attitude towards me, a veteran, Mr. Osborne, a veteran, senior citizens, and the likes of Mrs. Rolls and Mrs. Baumann included, I believe your remarks to be words and only words. Then, just last week, June 6th, the 75th anniversary of D-Day, we honored those veterans, living and deceased, who stormed the beaches of Normandy. We watched a 97-year-old veteran proudly paratroop through nearly the same location he landed as a member of his airborne division nearly 75 years ago. This time, he enjoyed his jump as he landed in a peacetime environment and not facing an enemy fighter. We visualized the bravery of those storming the beaches, bullets hitting their landing crafts. Some heroes killed instantly as their landing crafts opened. Did they quit? No. We know they prevailed, and those who survived came home to some initial fanfare, settled into the American way of life, and became part of one of the greatest generations known to this country, as labeled by Tom Brokaw, former NBC News anchor. I have spoken often with utter disgust of the actions displayed by this city government during the past 6 years. Led by Council President and the Law Director, you embarked on a mission to destroy the likes of Chuck Osborne, Larry Tripp, or anyone displaying the initiative to question your personal agendas. Quite a contrast to those honored the past couple of weeks. Mr. Revolt, since you weren't in office six years ago, let me please excuse you from my next remark to council.
Mr. Tripp, your time is up. Thank you.
Silence on this matter
Mr. Tripp.
is not golden.
Mr. Tripp.
It only illustrates a matter of fact and truth.
I'm going to ask you to sit down.
Thank you.
Larry, thank you for your service.
No, I don't need thank you.
Thank you.
Those that died
Thank you.
are the ones that need thank you.
Thank you, Larry.
He addressed me.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to address council, please step forward. Seeing none, we will move.
This gentleman.
Oh, yeah, yes, please. Dave, come on forward.
Good evening, everyone. May I approach the council, sir?
You have a handout? If you-
Yeah.
If you want to put it on the table there, we'll
Okay.
have,
I just need to pass them.
Here, I'll take it.
you have copies for everyone?
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
I need one. There's a spare one in here. Thank you. Well, once again, I'm back to talk to you. On January 1, 2017, 2 laws were passed for Operation Slow Moving Vehicles in Ohio by the Ohio Revised Code in Columbus and Stark County. They both approved it. I believe the last time I was here, or I know the last time I was here, my request to have golf carts permitted to operate within the city limits of North Canton was denied. This may have been due to some misinterpretation of information that was available if you would have done the homework on your own instead of asking someone else what they thought. Golf carts can't be used on roads with speed limits exceeding 35 miles an hour. Local governments have to approve use on public roads. I think that's a good thing. The city of Columbus said you can do this in Ohio. Stark County says we can do it in Stark County, but the cities, the municipalities, such as North Canton, can either approve or deny this action. I'm for that. That's the will of the people. Vote yes, vote no. I'm asking you to vote yes. Safety inspections, and I think this is where maybe some lines got crossed. Before you, you have a list that shows what is required for a golf cart just to get the title. The inspection, which I have provided a name for you, is done by a sheriff's deputy. Stark County Sheriff will come to your house at no charge, inspect your cart. He throws a state inspection sticker on your front windshield, lower left-hand corner, signs off on the inspection paper. You can then go and apply for your title. After your title, you have to get your insurance. Of course, you have to have a driver's license. There's age restrictions. If you look at the laws under Ohio Revised Code 4501-30-02, approved operating equipment and everything, it's all listed on there. You must take the bill of sale, the inspection sheet, and an insurance card. They don't ask you to sign the waiver that says, do you have insurance? You have to show the insurance card. That's the first time in my 76 years here in Ohio that I have been asked for an actual insurance card. Here, sign a waiver, tell me you got insurance. I don't trust people that much. I'd rather see the car, which they make me do for my golf cart. Then you pay your taxes, you get your plates, you get your bill, and you can go. I understand some of your thoughts and some of your worries. You're worried about traffic on Main Street. Fine, put a stipulation in your ordinance. Main Street can't be used by utility vehicles as stated in the Ohio Revised Code between the hours of 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. But you're not stopping me from crossing it. I don't use Main Street. I don't use Portage Avenue. You people did me a favor, like when on Charlotte, you dropped the speed limit down to 30 miles an hour and that stuff because you gave me permission to ride the street. But I can't take my vehicle there because you won't give me permission to use my vehicle. And quickly, I'll just say, I'll let you read that because you all have a copy of it. I did have a garage sale, like I said the last time. I had 4 people from North Canton inquire about my golf cart. And the one thing I hated to do is 3 people I turned down. The 4th man, I hated to turn down. His daughter brought him there to look at the golf cart because he's handicapped. And I refused to sell it to him. Why? Because I already know what your stipulations are. Your stipulations say no. And I didn't figure it was fair to take the man's money.
Thank you, Dave.
So I just ask you again, please consider this. And this time maybe someone could have the courtesy to let me know which way you may decide on whether we can use the golf cart for the city of North Canton or not.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We talk after the meeting.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to address council? Step forward, state your name and address. Okay. Now, Steve, we're going to move on to old business. We have a motion. Steph, before we do this, what are we going to do with this here? 28 and 29.
I think we have some changes that we would like them to put in writing before we look at it again. We had another report that was done this week, and I think that Dave got a lot of the issues from that report. And really, we're going to do those things that they talked about in the report anyway, from the feasibility study to working with Rob on that low interest loan that we would need to have done by, I think, October. So the timing with our break, we still need to move on some things, but I think that we would be more comfortable if all that was in writing. I know Daryl met with them, and then the mayor met with them, and so I think we did get a lot of questions answered. I don't know, any other thoughts, Daryl, did you have anything, or?
Just to say, timing is an issue. What I might do is ask Johnson Control have any additional information to us and hold a special meeting next Monday night for the third and final vote,
Where did that?
if we have that information on that. So you'll need a motion on that matter. So we just, it's on the table.
We'll do that at the end when we talk about the schedule for the special meeting.
Okay.
As far as ordinances 2029, so we want to table.
Right?
Okay.
We already are on the table last week.
No, we ran it off table last week.
All right, so they're on the table then.
Yeah, so I need two separate motions for each one. So I entertain a motion and a second to table ordinance 28.
So moved.
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And may I have a motion and a second to table
So moved.
29?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. May I have a motion and a second to read by title only, third reading, ordinance number 36-19?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
An ordinance to amend section 1171.02, Superintendent of Permits and Inspections of the City of North Canton's codified ordinances, to replace the superintendent's reporting official from the city engineer to the director of administration.
Thank you. Chairman Keesman.
This is our final reading, changing who reports to who. The official is now moving to the director of administration. Motion we adopt.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. May I have a motion and a second to read by title only, third reading, ordinance number 38-19?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Yep.
An ordinance amending Chapter 155, Personnel Regulations of Part 1, Administrative Code of the Codified Ordinances of the City of North Canton, to clarify certain provisions with the sick leave, vacation, and leave of absence regulations, and to update the titles and compensation of certain positions to more closely align with the current and future city operations.
All right, thank you. This is the third reading. Unless there's any last-minute changes or comments, entertain a motion to second to approve.
Motion approved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. May I have a motion and a second to read by title only, third reading, ordinance number 41-19?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nay? Member vote nay. 6-1. Tim?
An ordinance authorizing the Director of Administration of the City of North Canton to advertise and receive bids according to specifications now on file in the Director's office, and authorizing the Mayor, upon Board of Control approval, to enter into an agreement for the collection of residential garbage, rubbish, recyclables, and yard waste in the City of North Canton for a 5-year period with 4 one-year renewal options commencing September 1st, 2019.
Thank you, Chairman Thread.
Yeah, we had good discussion on this. This is the third reading. Unless there's any other discussion, I move we adopt the third reading.
I have a question on the recyclables. We talked a little bit about a lot of it now, they're so picky, they throw them away. So we're really thinking we're recycling, but we're really not. So I was wondering, is this the one where we said they have to do some certain training to let us know you can't throw a pizza box away with greasy wax paper in it? Like, is there more education there?
Yes, sir.
Because like I
As
said,
part of the bid specs, I've included an educational component that we didn't have before.
because I mean, honestly, I think it's pretty surprising that, you know, if you don't rinse out your wine bottle or your pop bottle or whatever, they can't use it. I think those things are important if we're going to try to get some benefit out of recycling.
This data I concur, and I think there was an excellent article that Mayor Hell was involved with in the repository that explained that very scenario for people, that it's quality, not quantity we're looking for as far as to do through recycling. So I appreciate that being entered into the contract. Thank you.
Thank you.
Don't throw it out.
And,
Recycle right.
Recycle rate.
Any other discussion?
No.
I just, again, basis for my final vote is a preference of the contract to have them extended as opposed to rebid. Go for it.
Motion's out to adopt the third reading. Any second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Member vote nay. 6-1. Approves. Thank you. May I have a motion and a second to read by title only, second reading, resolution 24-19.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Tim?
A resolution pursuant to North Canton Codified Ordinance, Section 1181.4, requesting the Planning Commission review, consider, and recommend, or not recommend, Council's proposal to amend Section 1179.10, variances, subsection C, reviewed by the Board of the City's Codified Ordinances to replace public hearing with adjudication hearing.
Thank you. Chairman Keesler.
Yes. This is an ordinance where we're going to change the name. We're going to send it over to planning to have a conversation about potentially changing the name of our public hearing to adjudication hearing. I did look up adjudication. It matters. It is a legal process by which an arbitrator or a judge reviews evidence and argumentation, including legal reasoning set forth by opposing parties or litigants to come to a decision which determines rights and obligations between the parties. And I think that's the biggest issue we have is these are pretty important hearings. These are the rights of the property owners. And they can be appealed, and they are coming back to us, thank God. They're going to a court of law, and if we have people on the record giving us their opinion, that is extremely subjective in most cases. If you're the property owner beside somebody, around somebody, you want the law and you want proof. You don't want just opinion. And I think by calling it an adjudication hearing and making the people know that what they say is on the record and it is proof and can end up in a court of law, I think it makes it more, it has more validity to it, and it protects the property owners.
I agree. Darrell?
Just to amplify Marcia's comment, there is ample case law here in Ohio on these matters, particularly for issues for zoning board of appeals and for conditional uses that require an oath. Matters before a planning commission, public opinion is welcome. But again, we the city are attempting to align our practices and the expectations set in the ordinance that the courts require oath. And given the fact that we are often subject to litigation on matters sometimes controversial, I think it's imperative that we align our practices with the court's expectations.
Right, and I think I understand what Chuck's saying, people are intimidated by it, but if they were the ones on the other end of it and want to protect their rights, they want to know that they're being protected as well. I think that's really important. So I feel we move forward and send it to planning and have to let them give us a recommendation.
Okay, is that a motion?
That's a motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Second.
I'm sorry? Schroeder. Good. All right, may I have a motion and a second to read by title only, second reading, Resolution 5-19.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Tim?
A resolution pursuant to North Canton Codified Ordinance, Section 1181.04, requesting the Planning Commission review, consider, and recommend, or not recommend, Council's proposal to amend Section 1177.05, public hearing and notice by the Planning Commission of the city's codified ordinances to replace public hearing with adjudication hearing.
Thank you, Chairman Keesler.
Yes, it's the exact same resolution just for the zoning board of appeals. A motion we adopt.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And may I have a motion and a second to read by title only, second reading, Resolution 6-19.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Tim?
A resolution pursuant to North Canton Codified Ordinance, Section 1181.04, requesting the Planning Commission review, consider, and recommend, or not recommend, Council's proposal to amend Section 1177.10, action by City Council, to action by City Council for similar use recommendation.
Chairman Keesler.
Yes, this is also a resolution asking the planning commission to look at, in our charter, the little gray area as far as conditional uses and similar uses. Conditional uses do not come back to council, but similar uses do, and they sort of get blurred together in our charter. So we like to sort of separate it out and make it a little more black and white. So I motion we send it over.
For a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. On to new business. I have a motion and a second to read by title only. First reading ordinance number 43-19.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Tim?
An ordinance amending ordinance 50-03 zoning ordinance of the city of North Canton to change certain parcels along Orchard Avenue Northeast, Howard Street Northeast, and Whitworth Street Northeast as recommended by the Planning Commission to a mixed-use overlay and residential two-family where necessary provide relief to the residents and businesses therein and bring the zoning district's map and pertinent parcels in line with current uses together with providing opportunities for future residents and businesses as illustrated below and in the zoning district's map attached thereto and incorporated herein.
Thank you, Chairman Keys.
Yes, the map is correct. It currently has 9 parcels on it. We spoke about it last week. Any questions, comments?
It's all taken care of. I don't, any other 101 type thing is in there?
Yep.
Yes,
All the
we're all in.
numbers are represented.
All in?
Mr. Duro knows that today I looked at the map.
Great. All in then?
All in.
I motion we adopt.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Yeah, motion and a second to read by title only. First reading ordinance number 44-19.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
An ordinance authorizing the Director of Administration of the City of North Canton to advertise and receive bids, and authorizing the mayor upon Board of Control approval to enter into a tiered contract for the cleaning of sludge lagoons in North Canton drinking water treatment plant and declaring the same to be an emergency.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, we had discussion on this, and I know we have discussion out there about sludge lagoons. We're still, Pat, all right to go ahead with this then?
Yes.
Or, I mean, I'll be glad to table it if you think you have time to decide what we want to do.
No, because even if you decide today what you want to do, it's going to take you 2 years.
Time
to
to
put the
span
thing
and
in
bill
place.
is beyond that, okay. Any other discussion about that? I think we covered it. Motion to approve first reading?
Second.
Second?
Okay, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. May I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules of council for 3 readings?
Second?
All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. And finally, a motion and a second to adopt under suspension of the rules.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Council.
May I have a motion and a second to read by title only, first reading, ordinance number 45-19.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Tim?
An ordinance amending Chapter 111, Council of the Codified Ordinance of the City of North Canton, specifically Section 111.01, Meetings, Time, Place, and Recording Procedure, by adding subsection J as described below.
Thank you. Chairman Ripple.
Yes, this is the companion to the item that follows. And item J, the vote, requires that all transcribed meetings shall state those city officials in attendance and seated at dais. This, in effect, is the equivalent to a committee report, part of a committee report, at which we check off the members of the administration who are present. So again, this establishes when we have a transcript for the record, which members of the administration are present.
So you're,
Yes, please.
so you're saying people on the record voice will say they're here, and that takes care of the little piece of paper we did?
Yes.
Some of this.
Yeah, we're
Okay.
the transcript will become the new committee report, and as part of that, we'll verify that either the court reporter or the council president will make sure that those individuals are part of their presence is noted in the record. If there are no other questions, I move we adopt the first reading of ordinance number 45-2019.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And the companion piece, motion and a second to read by title only, first reading ordinance number 46-19.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Tim?
An ordinance amending Chapter 111, Council and Codified Ordinance of the City of North Canton, specifically Section 111.06, Council Meeting Agenda, by amending subsections A and B as described below.
Thank you, Chairman.
Yes, the amendments are two. The first is that legislation may be placed on the agenda only upon the clerk's receipt of a committee's favorable written report. So that's the old way, like the report. Or that notice that the applicable committee meeting shall be transcribed. In addition, legislation may be placed on the council agenda only upon the council president or designee publicly polling council and a majority of the members recommending the legislation be placed on the council agenda. So, in lieu of the written report with which we're familiar, which the preparation is sometimes spotty, we are going to use the court reporter as the committee report. So, preceding ordinance will note the administration was present. Council's role has already been, that role has been called. And then we'll have the transcription. That will suffice as the committee report. But, just like on the form, the committee is going to have to, the president will establish that there's a majority support for the legislation to proceed. That'll be part of, again, the transcript. So we'll have one or the other, preferably the more detailed and complete transcription. Questions? I move we adopt the first reading of ordinance 46-2019.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. May I have a motion and a second to read by title only, first reading of ordinance number 47-19.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Tim?
Following is an ordinance enacted by the City of North Canton, Stark County, Ohio, hereinafter referred to as the local public agency, for the purpose of entering into a consent agreement with the Ohio Department of Transportation and declaring the same to be an emergency.
All right. Chairman Fontaine.
So we just got the request on May 31st. So it's on an emergency, so we get it passed quickly. It's for a signage 100% paid for by the state for replacement signs on 43, State Route 43. And that's the reason why it's an emergency. So I move that we pass it.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And may I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules of council for 3 readings?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And finally, a motion and a second to adopt under suspension of the rules.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. May I have a motion and a second to read by title only, first reading of resolution number 7-19.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Tim?
A resolution pursuant to North Canton Codified Ordinance, Section 1181.04, requesting the Planning Commission review, consider, and recommend, or not recommend, Council's proposal to amend Section 1181.08, action by City Council regarding amending zoning ordinances.
Chairman Keith.
Yes, this is another issue we want to bring to the Planning Commission to review for us regarding a little bit of discrepancy between our charter and our zoning code regarding what part of the Planning Commission is it public? The proposed amendment, any zoning ordinances, regarding amending zoning ordinances. There's so much going on. Currently, there's a little bit of conflict between the section in the zoning code and what the charter states. So we're asking them to look at removing section B and C from 1181.08 and making it clean with the rest of the code and just including section A of that. You want me to go into more detail?
Did we have discussion on it?
We did. Yeah.
There's so many.
There's a lot.
have a motion and a second to read by title only, first reading, resolution 8-19?
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Tim?
A resolution on submission of request to the Stark County Auditor pursuant to the Ohio Revised Code section 5705.03B to certify to the City of North Canton, Stark County, Ohio, as the city's taxing authority, the total current tax valuation as a subdivision and the dollar amount of revenue that would be generated for a renewal tax of 1 mil pursuant to Ohio Revised Code sections 5705.19, 5705.191, and 5705.25 for the purpose of providing funds for the city's portion of storm water sewer improvements in the city of North Canton for a period of 5 years, tax years 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, and 2024, commencing in 2020, first due in calendar year 2021, and declaring the same to be an emergency.
Chairwoman Ware.
It's really exactly as it says. We're just getting the process moving in order to get it on, it is an emergency, to get it on the ballot. So this one is for the sewer, and the next one will be for the streets. So there's renewals.
Is there a motion? Motion to adopt.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have a motion and a second to suspend the rules of council for 3 readings.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And finally, a motion and a second to adopt under suspension of the rules.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. May I have a motion and a second to read by title only, first reading, resolution 9-19?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Tim?
A resolution on submission of request to the Stark County Auditor pursuant to Ohio Revised Code section 5705.03B to certify to the City of North Canton, Stark County, Ohio, as the city's taxing authority, the total current tax valuation as a subdivision and the dollar amount of revenue that will be generated for a renewal tax of 1 mil pursuant to Ohio Revised Code sections 5705.19, 5705.191, and 5705.25 for the purpose of providing funds for the city's portion of street improvements in the city of North Canton for a period of 5 years, tax years 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, and 2024, commencing in 2020, first due in calendar year 2021, and declaring the same to be an emergency.
Thank you, Chairwoman Ware.
Again, the same act, but we're trying to get it on the ballot. So this is, again, a renewal for 1 mil for the streets. And it's emergency.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. May I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules of council for 3 readings?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And finally, a motion and a second to adopt under suspension of the rules.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, may I have a motion and a second to read by title only, first reading of resolution 10-19?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Tim?
A resolution requesting the Planning Commission recommend to City Council amendments to North Canton's codified ordinance, Chapter 1133, Single Family and Two-Family Residential District Regulations, Section 1133.08, Accessory Use Regulations, subsection E, fences and walls, and to include language for fence heights and flagpole height replacement requirements.
Thank you, Chairwoman Keezer. Sorry about that. Right in the middle of the hour.
Yes, we'd like to send this off to planning to consider a text amendment to our code to modernize the height regulations pertaining to fencing and to include language for placement and height requirements for flagpoles. Trying to just update our outdated code. I motion we adopt.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, reports. Deputy Director Ford.
All right, I just have a few items. One, as you head east on East Maple Street, just past Eric's Grocery Store, corner of Sutton and East Maple, you've probably seen the substation. So a great collaboration with Rice's Nursery, the North Canton Garden Club. They planted some nice burning bush, some dwarf plants there, and then some boulders, just to try to make a substation in a residential area a little prettier. So we did it nice, we're really proud of that, 0 cost to the city, AEP covered that all, Rice's Nursery. Also, mark your calendars now, this is an event open to everyone here as well as all of the public. Akron Children's Hospitals inviting us to celebrate the grand opening, and that's going to be on Saturday, June 22nd, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. The ribbon cutting will be at 11 a.m. It's free, open to the public, features a self-guided tour, family entertainment, and light refreshments. So Saturday, June 22nd. That's all I have.
Thank you. Engineer Graham.
Thank you, Mr. President. I guess I'm happy to report that kind of our first wave of 4 projects are basically about done. Our Elmwood water line is completely done, as punch list. Our Price Park South Loop walking path is done, other than some very minor punch lists there. Our 2019 paving program is completely done, with the exception of 12 Mr. Manhole methods, and that's going to happen, supposed to happen today, tomorrow and Wednesday, so that one's real close to being knocked out. And then last project in that first wave is the Eastbury Water Line project, and that's probably got maybe 2 more weeks. We're getting real close. That's been dragging on since about January, but residents have been great out there, so that's almost done. I guess we're ready to start our second wave of projects, and more havoc I can read elsewhere in town. The biggest one started last week is the Glenwood water line replacement. Found to serve our 3 medical facilities down there, actually 4 with Mercy on the north side. That got started last week. So far, so good, no surprises. Having our pre-construction meeting tomorrow for our Weber Avenue reconstruction. We've talked a lot about that one in the last year or so, and the needs out there. And then when our Eastbury job is done, the same contractor has our Watkins-Laurel water line that we talked about. That's going to get started hopefully in the next couple of weeks. So we'll then shift our mayhem from one part of town to another. And then later this summer, we've got a 3rd wave of projects that we can talk about.
So any questions? Please, Madam Report.
Yeah, Cat put out a road closure. We can share that on our website, Facebook, and all that too.
Okay.
Rob, I had another question. I know it's not in the city of North Canton, but the trail where you connect from Washington Square there over to the high school, Glen Oak High School. Do you have any idea when that?
I can check with Star Parks and see, and they've been working to get that connected from Hoover through Washington Square to get the plan to get to Glen Oak. So I can check on that.
Okay.
I don't know off the top of my head.
No big deal. I just had some questions.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. They're excited because the bench is going to lead down in Travassi's in here and some other places. So yeah, they get a lot of use when it's done.
Oh man, no doubt.
Yep.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, I would like to introduce our intern, one of our interns, Ben. We were just walking out there.
Trying to get out here.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, Ben is Ben, why don't you introduce yourself? You're going to be a senior this year at Walsh.
I'll be a senior at Walsh University studying political science.
Okay, and can you tell us some of the projects you're working on for us? I mean, Ben is incredible. I mean, this young man is a policy machine. So he's already put together, in the process, put together the policy for the sidewalks, right?
Sidewalk replacement cost sharing program.
Cost sharing program. And your major again at Walsh is?
Political science.
Political science and statistics, right? You love statistics?
Yes. My true passion is statistics. I have a minor in economics and would have majored in that if we had an economics major.
Yes. And so, no, Ben is doing an incredible job. I mean, it's amazing what one individual can put together and, for the city. So you're really doing excellent. And one of the projects where you have the sidewalks, what else? Funding grants, the
CSC grants. This year has been working on the parks expansion right now.
Parks expansion. And the other one that I find fascinating, because this is something that, is something we've wanted to do and it's something new, is the registration of security cameras.
Private security cameras. It's a list of the police can access that says residents have cameras. The police can't access private cameras directly. They still have to request footage from the private residents. But it lets people in North Canton tell the police that they're willing to help if a crime is committed in their area.
So you have like the Ring cameras, you have the Nest cameras. I mean, there's so many different camera systems. But if they register them with the police, then if there's a crime in that particular area, because I know with council, we've talked about having cameras, you know, in major intersections and moving to have them at all the intersections for not only, you know, crime, but, you know, to register who's coming through and so forth. If there is any event, there is a crime. Well, this goes well beyond it, because now we'll have access, they'll provide willing access to their own private security cameras, which we can't get any better than that. And so Ben is putting that policy together, and you're just doing a really impressive job.
Thank you very much.
And so with that, now you can move on.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard.
He's got work to do. He's working over at Walsh too, so he's a busy man. So he couldn't stay for the whole meeting. And he's working. So he's just incredible. Excellent job.
Yeah. Good stuff. All set?
Hold on.
Thank you. Director of Administration.
Very briefly, I want to talk about council's meeting schedule. When you get to that point, I would like that we add a regular meeting to the June 17th date and also to the July 1st date. Two items that you already have before you would be on the Whitworth zoning. We would like to get that passed by June 24th. So if you can accommodate the homeowner there, and it turns out there's another parcel that's for sale now, two parcels for sale now that are affected, that are in the list, that worked when we started this process, and they would be able to list their property and get it going without tying this thing up too much longer. So if we could do that, and then with the action that you guys are taking with Johnson Controls, you were going to do a meeting anyway. So I'd like to tag the Whipper in, and then if we get into anything else that comes up, I'll let you know.
Pat, to that point, I'm glad you brought that up. I'm looking here. We already have a special council meeting.
Okay, you got that
That's
on?
not here.
Okay. Yeah, that was for the Whitworth zoning.
Okay, perfect.
Right, but we could add Johnson to that.
Without amending to, okay, we got it. So the meeting's already there. Okay, got it. Thank you.
And then either on the July 1st or July 8th meeting, I would like to get, if I can coordinate the schedule, representative from federal government or in the U.S. Census Bureau would like to speak to City Council about the upcoming 2020 census and what they're trying to do and how we in North Canton can help them get an accurate count in our city.
That representative will be a U.S. citizen, correct? It's tongue in cheek.
Yeah, I don't find it very amusing.
Moving on. Either one, Pat, whatever you want. First or the eighth.
Well, I just want to put you on notice. I'll send you a request over when I know for sure what date is picked.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, thank you, that's it.
All right, very good. Director of Finance.
Just to follow up on the meeting schedule, Tim and I were just conferring. The special council meeting next week was just for the zoning, so you may want to vote to add Johnson Controls to that. And then to follow up on Patrick, on July 1st, we're anticipating probably needing a special council meeting after committee that night as well for some of the things that are coming up in the next committee meeting to get those done by summer recess.
On July 1st.
So we can, talk about that at the next meeting as well. But
Let me
just
do
to kind of
this.
have it
Let me
covered.
make a motion to add to the existing June 17th meeting a third vote for ordinances 28-2019 and 29-2019, Johnson Control
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. While we're at it, why don't we just go ahead and have a motion and a second to include a special council meeting July 1st. What was the
Agenda following.
Subject to follow once received.
Okay. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Laura. Anything else?
That's all, thank you.
All right, Director Ball.
No report, sir.
Okay. Member Foltz?
No report.
Member Surratt? No report. Member Volt, want to talk about J.C. Fair or?
No, I don't, but because I'm an old guy. It's raining, that's why. It's raining. I would like the record to reflect this evening that Richard Waldbaugh, who served this community as a member of council for 4 terms, passed away this last week. He preceded, by a number of years, my participation. But obviously, the voters had a great deal of confidence in him to return on a number of occasions. So I think our condolences go out to his family. The second thing I would like to say to Mr. Linsenbigler is that I am not convinced that we should permit golf carts on our streets. I think you've done a really terrific job of making a case that golf carts can be made somewhat safe. But the fact of the matter is, as I look at some research, one of the principal issues, and it's actually reflected on the very document you provide us, is that the state standards leave out one very important component to the safety equipment, and that is a rollover bar. That when you look at many of the fatalities associated with the use of golf carts on public streets, they're associated with a rollover where the occupants are ejected or crushed by the vehicle itself. The second thing I would also point out is that must not be able to travel faster than 20 miles per hour. When you look at many of the connectors in this community, not only Main Street, but Apple Grove, Everhard, Glenwood, East and West Maple, that traffic moves at 35 miles an hour. That is significantly faster than 20. And as one who exits quiet Ambler Avenue regularly on Everhard Road, I can tell you that a 20-mile-an-hour vehicle would have a safety issue on that street. Even though a lot of cars are moving at the speed limit, I'm going to bet you, David, that we pass out a fair number of tickets on that street, well in excess of 35 miles an hour. I think it would be very, very troublesome for public safety on that street. I think the third thing is this, and I just picked up while you were talking, I was looking at a report from the Consumer Product Safety Commission on the number of accidents and fatalities, and I pulled up a number from 2016 in the villages where golf carts are fairly prevalent. In that year alone, it reported 94 EMS calls on its golf carts, 70 of which were fatalities. Now, why is that of interest to us? Because we know that every EMS call costs the taxpayers money in this town. And we only recover from insurance a very small percentage of the actual cost of driving the bus to the hospital.
Could you state that again? What was those accidents? Were those involved with a motor vehicle?
Some were motor vehicles, others were driving off the road. I think one of them may have been a pedestrian who was hit by they were walking in the golf cart lane. And
how many were fatalities?
There weren't fatalities. There were 94 EMS calls, 94, 70 of which involved injuries. So even though I suspect they're making the vehicles themselves safe, the point is, David, that the operating environment may not be. And I think there's a real distinction there as we look at, or we consider permitting this. Is this a safe operating environment to ride? Very few people, for example, ride bicycles on Everhard Road. There's a reason for it, even though they're permitted under law. Even though the law says you have to maintain a 3-foot clearance, we generally don't want to encourage that. So I'm not quite there yet. I've got an open mind, but you haven't closed the sale with one guy here. I'll give you the response. That's where we are. I'm still a no, but I'm open to deliberation. That's my.
You were in the meeting, but we had Police Chief Menock here as well.
Absolutely.
And he echoed all of your comments. He was adamantly opposed to that for safety.
Yeah, I think they're just, as you look at, again, you go to Google and it's the source of all knowledge. Canton, part of the problem is that you can put lights, you can put brakes, you can put a horn on them, but you can't make them really safe in a collision with a vehicle, or if the golf cart goes off the road and really is at speed, hits something. And that's a problem. So, that's it.
Thank you. Member Keesler.
The pickleball person left, but I sure appreciate all the stats and all of the activity that's happening over there. I just got an email today from a woman that I had stopped, I think Memorial Weekend, and they were using it. And she just thanked me again for the courts and for us thinking about that and just how much fun they've been having. She did reiterate again that they would love a bathroom at some point. And if at some point we say, hey, we need 8 courts, obviously maybe a bathroom becomes important over there. But that's just so fun to hear all those people, and they're right, there's restaurants around there, Walgreens is probably getting more business, and Rose and different things. I know when I've gone by, they really are busy. In hindsight, yes, I guess we should have, consulted with.
We didn't know.
Right. Who
It
knew?
won't be our only one.
Right. I know, I was down looking at the ones that always have the water. So what are they doing down there? They're just sitting there with so much water, but it is big. I have to say, I just bought my own pickleball rackets today, and they're not cheap. And I did a lot of Google searches, so my dad will be getting another set for Father's Day, and Kurt doesn't know it yet. Yeah. He's getting it. Exactly. He doesn't play. It's fine. So I was really excited to hear about that, and thanks to Johnson Control for spending the time just keeping us informed. And after that report that we looked at, they agreed with a lot of the points, and I think what they're going to say is, hey, we do a lot of this, and we take the time and effort that's necessary to make sure it's right. To, Mark thinking about, do we need what kind of slush press and the differences and the 1 or 2, and that's all part of the process. And they're not to that. They need to do that and research it and then give us the say, and to Mark, also you to say which one do we want. But I think the report was clear in saying we have to do something. Our lagoons are full, and the time is now. So I think what their goal is they're going to give us a new amended report, take a look at that this week, and then we'll come back and we'll discuss it next week. But I know we're talking with Rob, and I'm talking with you, some of those grants and some things, we just need to think about that in the process. So that's it.
Okay. Member Fonte.
I just want to thank all the men in service, men and women, for all of what they've done to give us freedoms, and also remind the administrator over there that the flags are coming quickly. We gotta get the rest of those flags out. So I'm free on a Saturday if you need a little extra help. So the flags look nice. I got a lot of good comments, by the way. Did anybody get any comments on them?
Yeah.
Oh, Daryl's saying no. You need to get out more often, buddy. Hey, so I wanted to say that there's still a few more roads that need some attention. I know the project wrapped up, and I looked at the budget. It looked like there was going to be about $500,000 in the gas tax. Are we all going to get 100% of that for the roads, so next year we can have a decent budget to get these roads caught up? That's, you don't have to answer if you don't want, but that's just something on my mind. And
can you tell them that? Dominic, he has the, Rob has the answer.
Estimates for City of North Canton from the state, $376,000 for next year.
Okay.
The tax doesn't even go into effect until July 1st.
Oh, I got you. So I'm hoping, because there's some serious roads, even in my ward, that look like they're pretty rough.
And you recall Finance Director Brown's comments when you asked the question last time that
I probably
by statute we have to give it all to the roads.
I know.
Okay.
And then there's some sewer money coming too, I saw. So does that go to the roads as well? So next year we should be up close to $1 million for the budget instead of 580. Is that what it was this year? 580? That's okay, never mind.
Well, we also have a lot of road reconstructions. So when we look at the budget,
I just want to stay on top of the roads, because since we've had such cold weather, without the upgrade, they're not lasting, unfortunately. So I'm just saying next year I'll be well planned. Thank you.
All right. Final call to council for new business.
Move adjournment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Adjourned.
Four-page agenda in an hour and 20 minutes.
Because you're running the show.
Get ready,
Trust me. I know.